Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is your boy Say One History on The Awakened Show, and we have a very interesting show for you today. I apologize if I'm coming off a little bit somber, but after just doing this research and then finding out, what you find out, it gets a little frustrating because there is stuff going on in the world right now that the public should definitely be knowing about. And if it wasn't for people like myself, people on these UFO and alien groups and channels and stuff, we would have no clue whatsoever what's going on. I'm sure there is way more that we don't know about, and we are just skimming the surface. But I mean, with this little bit of information, we can begin to understand what's unfolding and what's happening here. But I digress. Now, what you're looking at here is the doorway to the aggressors' 527th SAS group or command station here. Now, I was actually doing a little bit of research on these guys here, and the way I actually found this information is I just wanted to see if we had a force or some kind of preemptive strike that would actually be able to fight in space. And sure enough, just looking on YouTube, or I'm sorry, not YouTube, but looking on Google, I did find one. And I found this in The Seeker. And the title of The Seeker reads, Space Aggressors Are Training U.S. Forces for Extraterrestrial Conflict here. Now, I'm just going to read over this a little bit. I did find a little bit of video, a little bit more video on this, and it's real compelling here. And I just wanted to show you some of the pictures before I go reading into this here about how these guys are training here. But anyway, I'm going to read this to you. Like I said, this is the Space Aggressors Are Training U.S. Air Forces for Extraterrestrial Conflict. So it says, in a large tin roof warehouse near Colorado Rocky Mountains, members of a team of modern space warriors spend their days hatching plots to defeat the U.S. military in extraterrestrial combat. They're called space aggressors. Their job is to act like the enemy during mock space battles to help U.S. units prepare for conflict that may one day extend into the cosmos. Now, sink that into your mind just for a little bit there. We play the bad guys, they said. Okay. Captain Christopher Barnes, Chief of Training for the 26th Space Aggressor Squadron. Our job is to not only understand the different types of threats and potential enemies, but also to be able to portray them and replicate them for the good guys in the Air Force. Now, just reading that right there, it just makes me wonder, how are they replicating the way an extraterrestrial would fight? But I digress. That just goes to show you what we're not being told, and I'm just reading in between the lines here, but I digress. I'm going to move forward. It says the 26 and the 527 Space Aggressor Squadrons are headquartered in a two-story warehouse at Colorado Schriever Air Force Base. Stocked with advanced radio and satellite equipment, they nicknamed it the Barn. Behind the building antenna dishes traces the skies, while attacks by the space aggressors are simulated. Okay, so it says senior U.S. military and intelligence officials warn the threat in a space in a real-life environment. It says America relies heavily on space assets to project force warships across the seas. Indeed, the Global Positioning System, or GPS, is actually a group of 31 high orbiting satellites owned by the U.S. government and operated by the U.S. Air Force. So what they're basically saying is we're essentially vulnerable in space. And there's approximately 31 high orbiting satellites that actually keep us in communications with each other. And I don't mean just cell phones and internet. I'm speaking in regards to NORAD. I'm speaking in reference to high military pieces of equipment that protect us on a daily basis, that run in the backgrounds, that normal people know nothing about. They're not worried about this, not thinking about this whatsoever here. But these are the things that keep us in orbit, keep us going with our day-to-day lives here as we know it. Now, if something was to shut these off, or these were to explode, or we were to have a war in space, we would be driven back in the Stone Age. I mean, it would just be complete chaos. I mean, I myself don't even know how I would live without a computer right now, let alone having all communication wiped out, having all lights turned off here. It would just be a complete mess here. But I'm going to read a little bit more into this here so we can get into it here. So it says, some worry that disrupting America's vast network of satellites and ground-based systems could send U.S. forces back in an inadequate era of targeting communications and navigation systems, deeply undercutting battlefield superiority. The spring rhetoric from the U.S. military officials about the need to bolster American defense's positions and even offensive capabilities in space has ratcheted up amid concern the Russian and China are rapidly developing anti-satellite weapons. It says, while we're not at war in space, I don't think we could say that we're exactly at peace either. Vice Admiral Charles Richard, Deputy Commander of U.S. Strategic Command, known as STRATCOM, told a conference in Washington, D.C. in March, we must prepare for a conflict that extends into space. In his remarks, Vice Admiral Richard pointed to the press, reported that China is developing an arsenal of lasers, electromagnetic railguns, and high-power microwave weapons to neutralize America's intelligence. Our satellite here is what they're basically saying. It is significant and it is growing. Heightened reply. You have to ask yourself why we have adversaries that are building weapons in space, weapons that can deploy into space, weapons that can jam our satellites, weapons that can jam GPS. Why are they building that entire infrastructure? It is not because they are interested in the peaceful use of outer space. It is because they are looking to threaten the United States. The space aggressors aim to simulate attacks of a real adversary who might be opposing the U.S. We study threats to space realm either coming from space or based on land. Now, I'm going to read that again. It says we study threats that are space realm either coming from space or based on land here. So they're not just saying that we're worried about Russia and we're worried about China. There's something going on. And again, this just points to my last video that I put out where I'm just basically saying that my spider senses are tingling. There's something else going on. We're launching all these different rockets into space, not only America, but also China and Russia and a few other countries, I believe it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And we're launching all these satellites into space for what? I mean, we have thousands upon thousands of satellites already up there. So it's just very concerning. And then we have all these things falling from the sky. We have the U.S. government just announcing flat out, you know, that they are looking for extraterrestrials, or that they're actually watching to make sure that there's no UFOs here in our systems. I mean, they never did anything like this, and I just think that this is ratcheting up to some kind of disclosure. I highly doubt that it would be a full disclosure, so don't believe the hype. And then on top of that, it could very well be a coup. I mean, there's tons of different evidence that points to the US and other countries already having this technology, so I wouldn't be surprised if they actually used it on us. So I mean, I'm actually gonna go ahead and show you. They were talking about how the China and Russians actually have these railgun weapons and these electromagnetic weapons, but I'm looking at some of the stuff on different websites, and we actually already have this technology. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and let this play. And again, like I said, you guys are intelligent people. You let me know what you think about this here, and I'm going to shut up and just go ahead and let this play for a second here, and you just listen to what they're saying and what they have.
Uses just electricity, no gunpowder, and oh, by the way, can shoot a projectile like this, well over 100 miles at Mach 7.
7 times the speed of sound.
7 times the speed of sound.
Rear Admiral Matthew Plunder is the chief of naval research which developed the railgun. That chunky object is the projectile. An electromagnetic pulse propels it down the barrel, creating a fireball of molten steel. The projectile sheds its steel cladding, and in video released for the first time today, it smashes into a dummy warhead that represents an incoming missile. The explosion is caused by the sheer force of the impact.
This is a lab gun, and it shoots a slug about this big. So think about that, a slug that big. A slug that big going Mach 7 puts a hole through 6 half-inch steel plates this big. Just this little slug.
Went through all of these.
All 6 of those. There's not a thing in the sky that's going to survive against that.
In this shot, what's officially called the hypervelocity projectile goes through 3 reinforced concrete walls. The Navy already has missiles that perform the same feats, but they cost millions of dollars each.
This costs right here about $25,000.
Both the cost and size, it weighs 23 pounds, mean they can be bought and stored aboard ship by the hundreds.
Someone may be sending a multi-million-dollar missile at us, and I'm going to take it out with a $25,000 projectile round. I'll take that trade every single day.
The Blitzer railgun system is the best solution against large raids. Transported by existing Army vehicles, the system is quickly readied to defend. The Blitzer railgun integrates into existing BMC-2 and radar systems. Surveillance initiated. Targets detected. Radar tracks multiple inbound threats, establishing a firm track for fire control handover. Blitzer integrates into existing national assets. The fire control solution is computed from organic radar sensor data. Outbound projectiles are tracked and guided to assure maximum lethality. Each round receives guidance data during flight, deploying the kinetic energy impactors at the optimum time. The mobility of threat launchers makes them hard to locate and difficult to destroy quickly. As incoming threats are countered, Blitzer targets the launch platforms. Prompt counterfire from the railgun provides a time-critical complement to today's conventional strike capability. By adjusting flight trajectories, several simultaneous impacts obliterate enemy targets and morale. This is the General Atomics Blitzer railgun system. Blitzer is a game-changing multi-mission solution for the U.S. Army, providing reduced operations and support cost by eliminating propellant and the associated logistics strain. Blitzer is the Army's fire projection solution.
Anti-ship threats are rapidly evolving and proliferating. Today, the Navy employs a layered defense, utilizing missiles for long-range defense and conventional propellant guns for close-in threats. The railgun counters new threats to protect the airspace in depth with unprecedented effectiveness. It complements defensive missile systems by providing greater standoff ability, dramatically expanding the inner tier of defense. A round can reach the horizon in just 7 seconds. Performance that's not achievable with current systems. At the horizon, the round still has greater velocity than a conventional gun has at its muzzle. The railgun essentially moves a ship's point defense out to the horizon. Able to engage more targets simultaneously, the railgun can even defend against airborne threats at high altitudes. The sheer speed of the railgun's kinetic projectile reduces the threat of maneuvering cruise missiles, and advanced airburst munitions provide increased range and probability of hit and kill. Difficult to detect means difficult to defeat. Firing a high-velocity round with a small signature, the railgun delivers enough kinetic energy to disable critical mission systems, taking the enemy ship out of the fight. At the
So there you go, you guys. I can't even stomach to watch any more of that. There was a little bit more, but what I'll do is I'll leave the link in the description so you guys can go ahead and check it out in full if you want to. But it's just like they're advertising this like you're at a convention here and you're buying a handgun. I mean, these are things that can affect everyone's lives here, and you know, they're just treating it like a shop and go, or like a just somewhere where you would like a flea market or something where you would go and buy a vacuum cleaner. It's just disgusting to me. Now, and then they're saying that these weapons are going to be used in implications to fight the Russians or to fight the Chinese, but you can clearly see that if there was a space threat from beyond our galaxy or within our galaxy here, that it can easily be implemented in that particular aspect here. Now, I was reading a little bit while I was actually letting that play, and there was a little bit more in the actual article, and they were saying that if in fact that our satellites did go out, they were actually training our military to actually adapt to those particular conditions, using like old compasses, radio frequencies, things of that nature. So they are expecting these particular things to happen, and they said as of 2015 they have been ramping up on this. So you know, what do they know that we don't know? We've just had 2 false alarms, one in Hawaii that everybody knows about, and then there was another one that was actually in Japan, I believe. Same thing within a 2-day time frame, I believe. So like I said, just too many coincidences that are actually happening right now. I'm gonna play you one more video that I was actually looking at here, and it's they're saying that they are concerned that North Koreans might actually have this, but again, I looked it up and we're the ones that have this technology here. So it's called a microwave weapon to counter North Koreans' missiles. So this one isn't long at all, it's about 2 minutes, so I'll just let this play and you guys can tell me what you think about it. But here it goes here.
American weapon which could counter Kim Jong-un's menacing and accelerating missile program. A U.S. Air Force official tells us it's called CHAMP, a high-powered microwave system that can be delivered on an air-launched cruise missile deployed from an American bomber. Experts say it can jam missiles before they launch or while they're in flight. And in the standoff with North Korea, it's a game changer.
It would be very useful in the Korean theater because it wouldn't require the presence of significant numbers of ground forces, it wouldn't require special operations forces, and it wouldn't require kinetic bombing attacks. So in essence, what can happen is an attack can occur and not a single person on the enemy's side would lose a life.
This declassified animation from the U.S. military shows how the CHAMP system would work. A bomber deploys a cruise missile. It would fly into enemy airspace at low altitude and send out strong pulses of electromagnetic energy. Officials say the enemy's electronic command and control systems would be jammed. Then, analysts say, the missile it's deployed on could be splashed down at sea. In one test of the CHAMP system, this was the result: a bank of computers being disabled simultaneously.
This is kind of like putting a piece of metal into either a microwave or some other high-frequency area where you're blasting it with a lot of radiation and you watch what happens to it. It's like, in essence, magnesium being set on fire.
Officials caution CHAMP is still in the research phase and not yet operational. While it could be effective in preempting North Korean missile launches, skeptics say it has potentially dangerous drawbacks.
North Koreans would see many of these missiles flying in.
So there you go, you guys. I mean, that's really all I have to actually report on today. It's very interesting, it's very time consuming, very frustrating, all in one here. And you know, if you guys have any insight on this, if you know something that I don't know, please let me know in the comments. You can actually go ahead and send me an email here. My email is actually in the description. It's actually on the screen right now, so you can definitely go ahead and get in contact with me. I would like to hear from you guys in regards to your accounts. If you've actually experienced any UFOs, if you've had family members that have been in the military here, please drop me a link, drop me an email here, and I will definitely get back with you. I look forward to reporting more on this. I look forward to growing my base and just working with you guys all together. So I really appreciate the love. I really appreciate the admiration that you guys are sending out to me. Thank you so much here. And I'm going to let you guys go again. As I say, as always, I'm rambling. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys go. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And please, please like and subscribe. It's very appreciated. Go to my YouTube channel, The Awakened Show, and you can actually find it on theawakenedshow.com at gmail.com if you want to. But thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and have an awesome day. Have an awesome night. Take care.